What's up, guys? It's Afc the Mountaintops back again. We are in the middle. I said this last week, but we're really in the middle of August on the other end. So we're getting to it. Preseason week one's already gone. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But first off, I want to introduce my awesome co-host, Jeremy. How are you tonight, sir?
Awesome, I guess. I mean, that's one heck of an introduction. No, I'm doing okay, man. Football is back. As stated last week, my excitement's there. The preseason games have come and gone. We got another week ahead of us. We got camp. We got scrimmage fights. You name it. We are in the thick of preseason football, and how happy I am for it to be back.
Yeah, those scrimmage fights, that's kind of when you know preseason's going on, right? Whenever all the tempers are starting to flare. I love that. So I haven't heard it too much yet, but obviously you have, so that's good. Means people are getting passionate, right?
Yeah. I think there was 6 fights alone today at the Cowboys-Saints practice.
Those are always where the fights come in, or where it's like the dual practice or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was referring to. Yeah, but yeah, there's been a bunch going on. Yeah, like I said, guys jockeying for spots, guys jockeying for opportunities. Some of these dudes are playing for a livelihood. I mean, I know it's cliche to say that preseason don't matter, and nowadays it's cliche to say that preseason does, because these dudes are playing for their livelihoods and futures, but it is. And some of these guys that we're going to talk about in our preseason breakdown here shortly are guys that no one's heard of until they made a major play, and now all of a sudden, that name is trending, and they are getting more opportunities at camp and everything in between. So, it's exciting times to see the desperation behind each and every one of these players.
Absolutely. I love it. And we are going to talk about those games, like I said before. We're also going to talk about a few injuries that have happened throughout the last week. Quite a few, actually. And then also we're going to start off with some deals that were made, 1-year deals for veterans as well. And then we're going to head on to what the meat and potatoes of our show is today, Afc and Nfc South, the re-signs, additions, departures, the draft picks. And then we're going to pick our MVP and dark horse for each team. And then our positional favorites for each division, and also MVP and dark horse for those positions, or for those divisions as well. But in between that, we're going to actually do our player profile that we do every week almost in the offseason. And it is going to be Bo Nix, the quarterback, coming back for the Denver Broncos off an injury. So a bunch of stuff to get to. So first off, we're going to start out with, even before we talk about deals, real quick, Adam Schefter says there's a potential disciplinary action coming to Puka Nacua and Josh Jacobs. Does this matter to you?
It matters to me if I'm a Josh Jacobs or Puka owner. I don't anticipate Puka's suspension to be long. I do anticipate him to get a game. So let's chalk it up to this Australian game week 1. Josh Jacobs as well. I can't see it being too extraneous because the team hasn't reacted to it at all. Maybe a game at most, but I can't see it impacting a significant amount of time.
It wouldn't stop you from trying to acquire or in a starter draft, which we're probably already done with at this point. But
no, it's a good question. I think it'd be one that it would probably fuel my fire to go pursue them, to pulse check the owners of those two individuals to see if they were in a mood to trade, or if they were nervous about any type of long-term suspension or anything on those lines. I would probably use it as an opportunity to capitalize.
I love that idea. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good idea. But we just wanted to kind of touch base with that. Nothing come out yet. There's been a bunch of non-skill position players getting suspended and things like that, but nothing for Puka and Josh Jacobs as of yet. A few deals that were made for veterans. Darren Waller signed with the Panthers for 1 year. Keenan Allen joins the Colts for a year. And Najee Harris is joining the Giants on a 1-year deal as well. All 3 1-year deals. Which one of these means the most to you, if any?
No, all of them about the same. They're kind of camp fill-ins. So thank you for giving me that security blanket in regards to, if any. I think all of them are kind of camp fill-ins. I don't want to say none of them matter. It's just to the individuals who now have competition, it does matter. But these are all 1-year deals, and I guess we'll wait and see exactly their usage and desired snap counts as the preseason goes in week 1.
Yeah, so for me, I think Waller and Allen actually might be close to starters. I can't see more than 2 wide receivers on the Colts who are better than Keenan Allen. If 2, he might be the best wide receiver on that team. And it worries me with Josh Downs shares a little bit because they play similar. Darren Waller, I think it's because our Texan just hasn't figured it out. Right? In my opinion. So Darren Waller, they needed a veteran presence there. And then Najee Harris, I think this is just in case Cam goes crazy again and gets hurt. Because I know we both like Tyrone Tracy, but I don't know about him going through the tackles like Najee Harris can do, and like Cam obviously does. So I think that's what that move was for. They kind of always wanted to get a veteran back, but we'll see what happens there. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, in full agreement. I think the Najee Harris is not necessarily a replacement for Tyrone Tracy. I agree with you. I think it's more a little bit of backup for Cam Scatterbo. He looks good. He doesn't look the same. And I was afraid of that happening with an injury like he kind of had. So I don't want to say that Scatterbo's done or he's washed or anything, but like, and of course I understand it's preseason football and it's his first few games back. But I think the Giants saw enough at camp from both Tyrone Tracy in regards to a blocking standpoint and Cam Scatterbo in regards to an acceleration standpoint that they felt Najee Harris could possibly bring a positive to the running back room.
Yeah, he's the one that I feel like is kind of like the handcuff for Scatterbo, like I said. And Tracy kind of just does his own thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But Keenan Allen is the one that worries me the most because Josh Downs, who I expected to be the number 1 on that team, I'm kind of worried about now because there's more mouths to feed. If he makes the team, of course. A few injuries to talk about, and we're going to start with the most devastating one, and this is what we were worried about and why you didn't draft him as, in my opinion, the third best or the best receiver in the 2026 draft. Jordan Tyson from the Saints has a hamstring injury again. Ex's practice will miss about 2 months. It was during a joint practice session against the Jaguars. Foot slipped and he was pushed from behind, so just a freak thing that happened. So we'll be not seeing that rookie on the regular season field until what would that make it? Mid-October, I guess.
Yeah, Halloween probably at best.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. I've been on record many times, especially on this podcast, saying that I thought by far he had the best skill set. And the reason he wasn't projected or drafted higher is because of that injury risk, and this is what happens. So we'll see what happens there. Kyle Monangai knee will miss multiple weeks as well. DeAndre Swift shares should be happy, at least to start the season. Jeremiah Love in the Cardinals, ankle injury, looked good before that, but they said it's minor, not considered a major, but will miss the rest of the preseason and could miss week 1. They're saying 4 weeks, so that's right on the dot week 1. So we'll see if he actually misses week 1 or is able to play. Rookie running back for a team that's not going anywhere. I can't see them pushing him, but we'll see. Emeka Ibuka from the Buccaneers has a toe injury listed day-to-day. Should be good for week 1. Rolled up on during an end-around play in practice. Breece Hall for the Jets, groin injury, left practice Monday. Out 2 to 3 weeks. Should be good for week 1 as well. Luther Burden for the Bears, groin injury as well. Out rest of preseason, should be good for week 1. Chuba Hubbard for the Panthers, hamstring injury week to week. Confident for week 1. Keon Coleman. The only reason we talk about him is because of me, probably. Sprained foot and toe, seen in a boot. Head coach not concerned, however. I'd be a little concerned if I was the head coach, if I wanted him to play, if I saw him in a boot. So I'm kind of surprised by that. DJ Moore for the Bills, also with an ankle injury here. Exited the game, back in practice, though. He should be good to go. 2 good things. George Kittle, 49ers, should be good to go week 1. Wow, that is very quick. And especially for a 33-year-old man. And then my favorite part of this entire segment, Chris Bell for the Dolphins is activated for practice. Let's go. The number one for the wide receiver for the Dolphins. Hopefully someone can give him the ball. Out of all of those, and I know that's a lot, and I know there's a lot of guys you like on that list, so we might talk about a few of them. But what stood out to you the most?
What stood out to me the most is a vague aspect, and then I'll touch base on some of that good news a little bit. The vague aspect is we are dangerously flirting with losing a big-time dynasty asset to injury during preseason. We have dodged several bullets with Luther Burden and now Breece Hall. Chris Olave had a little bit of a bang up today. We're flirting with disaster on some of these ones. So let's take a deep breath and let's just hope that this is the calm. This is the storm before the calm rather than the calm before the storm. But no, the pieces of good news. No, real quick. Great news about George Kittle, like you mentioned. But I am going to keep my Jake Tungus shares just to see exactly how he does come back and longevity behind him coming back. He did mention he is a 33-year-old tight end coming back rather, for lack of better terms, prematurely to an Achilles injury time frame. So we'll see what goes on with that one. And then, Chris Bell is a major add there. As much as I am a fan of Caleb Douglas, the Miami Dolphins were not prepared to go into week 1, week 2, week 3 as Caleb Douglas as their wide receiver 1, at least not yet. Chris Bell was going to be a force. I didn't see this happening as fast as it did. So that's a good thing to see it play out and see him get ready sooner than I anticipated. Chris Bell should be gracing the fields and be gracing as many dynasty rosters as you possibly can acquire of them.
Yeah, and I believe that Chris Bell probably fell a little bit because of the injury, and no one knew if he was going to play this year or not. And activated for practice is a lot different than being ready for week 1, so we'll see if he's actually ready for the beginning of the season, but at least we're moving forward, which is a good thing. Yeah, so and then we had a few games we're going to run through real quick, just kind of the highlights. And we're both from Pittsburgh, so of course we got to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They win 28-9, not that matters. They do look good, though. Drew Aller, 10 of 13, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, plus 1 rushing touchdown. The reason for that rushing touchdown was Caden Weigent. He had 2 receptions. One was a touchdown. One was he got tackled on like the 3-yard line from a 79-yard or like a 70-yard run. Taken down inside the 5 on like a 70-plus yard catch, I believe it was, and run. So Caden Weigent looking good. We thought he was just going to be a return guy, but he looks good as a wide receiver as well, apparently. Cardinals and the Raiders. Cardinals win 27-14. Again, that doesn't matter, but we're going to tell you anyway. Fernando Mendoza, 10 of 16, 97 yards and a touchdown. Looked okay in his first spot on the field there. Browns-Bears, 34-10. Chicago, Deshaun Watson, 11 of 15, 126 yards. Shedeur Sanders, 6 of 11, 79 yards, 1 interception. We're talking about this game only because of that quarterback controversy. So we're going to keep an eye on that throughout the preseason until they decide which one is the starter for the week. For week 1 here, Rams-Chiefs, 20-12. Rams win. Ty Simpson, 21-25, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Looks good. Yes, it's preseason, but he looked good. Those numbers don't lie. Eagles-Ravens, 24-7. Baltimore, Jacoby Lane, 3 receptions, 38 yards, and a touchdown. Not too shabby. Elijah Surratt, 6 receptions, 66 yards. Did have a fumble loss, but 6 for 66. That's a good start as well. So both rookie wide receivers for the Ravens playing well. Anything else you wanted to talk about from these? These are just kind of some of the games we wanted to highlight. I do know that for the Cardinals, like I said earlier, their rookie, Jeremiah Love, looked really good before he got hurt.
Yeah, and just speaking up on that game, a lot of the rookies that game had a lot of highlighted rookies that were something to keep an eye on, or even first-year guys. Like I know your boy Jack Beck. Jack Beck, he had himself a game. He only had 3 receptions, but in the history books, he got the first reception for Mendoza, and he got the touchdown catch. So let's go Jack Besh here. So a little shout out to him as well. But yeah, my biggest out of this list, at least of what you've mentioned, was Ty Simpson. Again, I understand it's preseason. We're going against second strings and third strings and so on and so forth. But a lot of people were being negative toward that draft pick. They've been saying it was too early, it was not the right team, and everything in between. But so far, so good, and I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of the preseason with him playing because Matthew Stafford's only getting older here. I mean, and I think the Ty Simpson era is going to be happening a little bit sooner than later. I'm all in on Stafford this year, but let's take a look and see exactly what's coming up because so far so good at Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know what you have with Matt Stafford. He's unbelievable. He's an MVP last year. This team's ready to win the Super Bowl this year. But looking at his first game, granted it's preseason as we talked about, almost 200 yards, and no one really had 200 yards in the preseason. So 190 and two TDs, only missing four incompletions. I don't care who you're playing. That's pretty darn good. And I was one of those naysayers that was like, why are you taking this player when you could win the chip right now, right? But they saw something and maybe they were right and everyone else was wrong. They tend to do that a lot in LA. So we're going to take a quick break. And we'll be back with the main part of our show here. NFC or AFC first and NFC South, dissecting those offseason moves. We're going to get right back into it here with the AFC South. Houston Texans, we're going to start with. They re-signed Dalton Schultz on a multi-year deal. He's tight end. They're starting tight end. They added running back David Montgomery, formerly of the Lions, which we've talked about a few times on this pod already throughout the weeks here. And also backup tight end Foster Moreau, formerly from the Saints. Departures, running back Joe Mixon was released, and wide receiver Christian Kirk is now a 49er, one of those not healthy 49ers. And then in the draft, they did draft a tight end as well because Foster Moreau's not young, and neither is Dalton Schultz. Marlon Klein out of Michigan, round 2, 59 overall. And wide receiver Lewis Bond out of Boston College, round 6, 204 overall. What were the big things that you saw in the offseason?
I think one of the biggest things that I saw was the addition of one of my favorite running backs in David Montgomery. I mean, our listeners know that I am a big David Montgomery fan and advocate. I think this team was missing some run game. I mean, I obviously do feel that their offensive line was a little trash as well. So that did affect the previous run games of, say, Dameon Pierce and Rex Burkhead. These are big time names here, but nevertheless, David Montgomery adds a completely different element to the running game that Woody Marks has ever been able to produce or anybody else, at least recently in the Houston Texans running game. So much so that I'm going to call him my MVP of the Houston Texans this offseason. He's poised to have a 3-down back role. Woody Marks is a decent pass catching back, but he didn't get too much going on the ground game last year. David Montgomery is going to be a 3-down back, and I think in the volume is going to be exactly what he's wanted. He has history of catching out of the backfield. He has history of being a 3-down back, bowling ball types of running back, red zone threat, you name it. So I believe he's bringing all the positive aspects that he had shared as Knuckles in Detroit, and he is going to be the MVP for the Houston Texans this year.
I like it. Me and you were talking about this before the show, and I have a slight edge to another player, but Big Monty, he was one of the options for sure out of the two options that I had. However, I did go with Nico Collins. Hopefully, CJ Stroud shows back up like we've seen him in the past, and it's not the same as the last 2 years. I think it has a little bit to do with the offensive line, but they really haven't gotten a whole lot better there in protection. But Nico, when he's on the field, he is one of the best wide receivers in football. And he gets targeted a whole lot because they haven't had too much around him. A lot of names, but not really any substance, if that makes sense. So one of those names is my dark horse, actually. Tank Dell, who did have substance 2 years ago when he actually played and played well with CJ Stroud. So I think if he's able to stay healthy, he's a small, slender guy, so it's hard for him to stay on the field, to be honest with you. But he is a lightning bolt, and if he can play with Nico, I think they get back to that offense that they had 2, 3 years ago when CJ was kind of slinging the ball.
Love the call. Tank Dell is definitely one that I could see having a successful year. I'm pulling for the guy. I have him in a few of my leagues, not just selfishly, but I'm pulling for the guy. I hate to see when these individuals obtain these massive injuries where the whispers of career ending or they're never going to be the same get brought up. And if you can have a guy come back to the caliber of Tank Dell, even 80%, 90%, I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field, but I could see him coming back at 100% and doing exactly what he used to do. But until that happens, unfortunately, I think it's going to take a little bit more time here for Tank Dell to get back on the field. So I'm utilizing my dark horse for another wide receiver in Jaden Higgins, second-year wide receiver out of Iowa State. If you remember, he was one of the 2 wide receivers that were drafted out of Iowa State that same year for the Houston Texans. And Higgins has definitely taken that significant leap toward breakout status as opposed to Noel, who is bugging with a few minor injuries. In my opinion, the primary reason Higgins is my dark horse is volume of chunks of in the pass game going astray. We lost Christian Kirk in the Houston Texans, and we also obviously lost Hank Dell last season. Higgins is 6'4", 212. He had a 4.47 speed. I really like his opportunity this year, and I really like him breaking out in obtaining most of those targets that were missed by Christian Kirk and excelling into the wide receiver 2 role.
Yeah, I like it. I think we're going to see a little bit less of Noel because of Tank Dell coming back. I think he's the better player. But I also like Jaden Higgins on the outside with Nico. That'll be a really nice 3, whichever one is in the slot between Noel and Tank. So they look like they should have a good offense. We'll see what happens. Indianapolis Colts re-sign running back Jonathan Taylor to a 2-year deal, quarterback Daniel Jones to a 2-year, $88 million deal, and wide receiver Alec Pierce gets paid 4 years, $116 million. That shocked a lot of people, me included, I think. I don't know about you, but that deal shocked me. They also added Nick Westbrook-Akine. I always mess that up. Formerly from the Dolphins. And as I said earlier in the pod today, wide receiver Keenan Allen, formerly from the Chargers, just joined their team this last couple days here. Departures, they did lose Michael Pittman to the Steelers, who needed a wide receiver and got one. They also were looking to trade him, so obviously they wanted to move on from him as well. They drafted running back Seth McGowan out of Kentucky in the 7th round, 237 overall, and wide receiver Deion Burks out of Oklahoma, also in round 7, 254 overall. That's darn close to Mr. Irrelevant, but I don't think it was. I've heard nothing about Deion Burks. I don't know if he's injured or what. I haven't heard one word about him, which I was kind of surprised about. I know he's a 7th round guy, but he was hyped up pretty high in college last year, so I was surprised by that.
Oh, yeah, I have not heard anything on Deion Brooks as well. I know he was like a day 2 type projection in college, and he just continued to fall at the draft. He didn't score well at the combine, and he, from what I understand as well, not that I have a pulse on the Indianapolis Colts training camp, but I am too not hearing as much from hearing anything from Burks. I am hearing on Seth McGowan because DJ Gittins was banged up a little bit with a hammy. So Seth McGowan seems to be on projection to be the running back 2 behind my MVP of the Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor. So I don't want to downplay Seth McGowan on that note before I feed into JT. But yeah, he seems to be doing rather well at camp. And if you have some spots in your roster or taxi, I'd strongly suggest having because he would be a fantastic handcuff if crowned the RB2. But speaking of that, again, Jonathan Taylor is going to be my MVP. I think in some teams, there is a obvious answer for MVP, and you're allowed to take them on occasion. And I think this is one of those occasions where I'm allowed to take them. Jonathan Taylor is significant workhorse running back, the one that I am anticipating Montgomery to be. But Jonathan Taylor is a little bit younger, a little bit faster, and a little bit stronger, in my opinion. So we're going to be able to see a little bit more of an acceleration from Jonathan Taylor this year. With the additions now coming into play of Warren and Josh Downs and Keenan Allen, that's going to help spread the ball around a little bit more. Daniel Jones is going to be coming back healthy. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor as my MVP. I think he's going to have another career year and help lead the Colts offense.
So, again, this one was a hard one for me. And in actual football, there's no question on earth who the MVP on this team is, and it is JT. However, we play fantasy. And JT is one of the top 10 backs, I'd say, probably even higher than that. But Tyler Warren's in that conversation of top 4, top 3. That's about it. Like in that top 5, and no questions asked. He's a cheat code, not like Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, but he's right underneath that. And he's only a second-year player. So I have him as my MVP. I know it's a little shocking, a little bit different, but that's the reason why, is because I think there's a lot more running backs out there that you can make a case for in that same light as Jonathan Taylor than you can at tight end for Tyler Warren. So I think he's going to really show up. I think he's going to own the field. When he played with Daniel Jones last year, he absolutely dominated. It wasn't until Daniel Jones got hurt that he started to lose his momentum from the beginning of the year there. Yeah, he just came out like a bat out of hell. I mean, to be honest, he looked great early and kind of faltered whenever they needed to figure out the quarterback side. Him and Daniel Jones had a really good rapport. My dark horse, which I probably need to pivot, but I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep him right now. Is wide receiver Josh Downs. This is why the Keenan Allen news scared me so much, because I wanted to get a lot of shares of Josh Downs, and I kind of did. And now I'm a little worried about it. So I thought that he was going to be the focal point of the offense, and with Keenan Allen kind of doing the same thing as Josh Downs, maybe not as good after the catch at this point in his career, but similarly, in the middle of the field, short yardage possession, where Alec Pierce is going to be that deep ball, take the top off the defense kind of thing. So was really looking forward to Josh Downs, and I think he still could be the dark horse this year. But with Keenan Allen, it worries me a little bit more.
I'm on full agreement with you. I have Josh Downs as well as my dark horse. Look, I think Keenan Allen is a fantastic signing, but I'm not as sold on the Keenan Allen target share as I guess you are or others. And there's 111 targets missing from Michael Pittman alone that are going to need to be adjusted to. And Josh Downs has been given every opportunity and every chance to obtain said targets. He's going to be transitioning from that safety blanket type role to an every down type threat with the way this Colts offense is evolving. He's building up chemistry with Daniel Jones. Jones's accuracy, in my opinion, short to intermediate areas is perfect for Josh Downs. And his separation makes him a massive point, a PPR type wide receiver. So I am a little bit high. I am too high on Downs, and I'm maybe a little bit lower on Keenan Allen. I'm gonna hold firm on Josh Downs as my dark horse, and we'll see how it plays at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm holding firm as well, but I remember last year where everyone was excited about Ladd McConkey, and then Keenan Allen showed up and kind of threw Ladd McConkey to the wayside, to be honest with you, the first half of the year. And 2 years ago when he was a Bear, DJ Moore and him were kind of splitting time. So, like, it just worries me. Or splitting the touches. So it just kind of worries me a little bit more, because it's another piece on this team that's going to take the lion's share away from those other three, or the other two really, in Warren and Downs that I was expecting until 2 days ago. So, but they did need a wide receiver 3, because Ashton Doolin cannot be your number 3. So that did make sense there. Jacksonville Jaguars re-sign tight end Brenton Strange, 3 years, up to $48 million. They also add Chris Rodriguez. the running back formerly from the Commanders, and also running back Amir Abdullah. I'm not sure if he's going to make the team or not, but he was an ad this past offseason from the Colts. Departures, obviously, we talked about him, I think, every single week in the offseason so far. We both are very high on him. Travis Etienne Jr. Goes to the Saints, so that was the big departure there. They do draft a few pass catchers, however. Two tight ends, one Nate Borkshire out of Texas A&M, round 256 overall. Tight end Tanner Kozul out of Houston, round 5, 164th overall. Wide receiver Josh Cameron out of Baylor in round 6, 191 overall. And then at 203 in round 6, they grabbed wide receiver CJ Williams out of Stanford.
I think they did pretty decently once again in the draft. I think they did pretty decently once again in the offseason. And I think that they are in a position here that has arguably one of the best wide receiver trees in the league. If not, I'll put it against the Texans' wide receiver tree for the best one in the division. You got Jacoby Myers, who became Trevor Lawrence's favorite target, and he signed a big money contract. You got Parker Washington coming off a massive breakout season, entering yet another breakout season. You got Travis Hunter, who is going to be utilized on the field as both offensive and defensive. When he's on the field offensively, he is one of the better hands in the league. So you got to utilize him as a threat as well. And then obviously, fourth and final most is BTJ. BTJ is actually going to be my dark horse for this upcoming season. Now, a lot of individuals are saying, like, how could BTJ be a dark horse with the type of caliber skill set he has? Well, no one's talking about BTJ once again, except for negative manners. Listen to the list I just read off. Jacoby Myers was Trevor Lawrence's favorite target last year. Parker Washington going into breakout season 2.0. You have a complete joker in Travis Hunter. Not only knows what he's going to do. And that's not even mentioning the tight end and Brendan Strange and anybody else that they have. So, like, BTJ held this wide receiver one role, and he was projected to be this generational talent. And then last year, he got banged up. He lost target share. He went from over 1,200 yards receiving down to a measly 707. He went from 10 touchdowns to 2. He was Pro Bowl caliber. So, like I said, he kind of a shell of himself in what he was able to project in his rookie year. So much so that I think with the weapons that they have now added and with the attention that Parker Washington's going to bring and Jacoby Myers brings and Brendan Strange brings, I think it's going to open up the field a little bit more for BTJ, and I think he's going to fulfill his rookie numbers once again. And I think in order for him to do that, it's going to take, once again, an MVP caliber year by Trevor Lawrence. He is going to be my MVP for the Jaguars. Listen to the offensive power that I just mentioned, not to mention what they got going on in the backfield with Chris Rodriguez and Bashal Tutin. They have a very high caliber offense, and they have to have somebody lead the way that is trustworthy and dependable, and that is Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion. He's going to have to be that trustworthy quarterback this year, and I think he will be with the weapons that he has. He'll be the MVP for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, so you named almost all of the weapons, and it's a list, right? They got 3 running backs. I think are gonna matter. They got 4 wide receivers. They got two to 3 tight ends. I mean, they have almost 10 options for Trevor Lawrence. He has to be the MVP. He's the one who has to be able to be the catalyst for all of them. So that makes 100% sense. We agree on that 100%. This is what we have been discussing and disagreeing on the entire offseason, is that I think the dark horse is going to be Chris Rodriguez. And the reason I say that is because I think Liam Cohen is one of those head coaches and offensive coordinators as well. He did this in Tampa Bay, where everybody has their job. They didn't bring in Chris Rodriguez just to bring him in. I think Bayshell is going to have the bulk of the workload to start, but I also do think that Chris Rodriguez has proven himself between the tackles. I think LaQuint Allen is going to be a pass catching back out of the backfield, but I think Chris Rodriguez is the one that, if something were to happen or Bayshell Tutin doesn't show up like a lot of people are expecting, he's the one who's going to kind of take over. Just not throwing passing downs, of course. But like that's why I always keep saying about Bashal Tutin, and I don't talk about him too much because in the Liam Cohen offense, again, at least when he was in Tampa Bay for that 1 year, he 100% he had three backs eventually because of injuries, but at the end of the year, he was using them all for different reasons, and it bothered Bucky Irving fans and Rashad White fans, but Sean Tucker got some play. So like I'm excited for Chris Rodriguez the most because I think he has the most potential to do to come out of the shadows, I guess, if that makes sense. Because I don't think Bashal Tutin's really a dark horse. So I think Chris Rodriguez is going to have a heck of a year and mainly bother Bashal Tutin owners, but also could carve a nice little touchdown run for himself because I think he's going to be the short yardage back. Next up, we have Tennessee, the Tennessee Titans, who obviously got a new head coach in Robert Saleh, formerly the 49ers defense coordinator, also formerly the head coach of the Jets. That didn't work out very well for him. Offense coordinator Brian Daboll came with Robert Saleh. He was the former head coach of the Giants. No re-signs. Also, they added Wan'Dale Robinson from those Giants that Daboll was a head coach for. He's a wide receiver, obviously. Quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, formerly from the Bills, and tight end Daniel Bellinger, again from the Giants. What a shock. And then they did lose Chiga Okonkwo to the Commanders out of the tight ends, but they do have a young guy in Gunnar Helm who they think is going to be the focal point starter tight end wise. So in the draft, number 4 overall, if you were living under a rock, wide receiver Carnell Tate in the first round out of Ohio State. In the 5th round, Nicholas Singleton, running back out of Penn State, 165th overall. And then 225th overall in the 7th round, tight end Jaron Kanak out of Oklahoma. I got a lot to say about these rookies, but I'll let you go first.
No, I appreciate that. No, the Titans are what you call are in the middle of a rebuild. Like they have sucked, if you will, for the past few years.
Lack of a better word.
And they have got themselves some decent draft capital, and they are going to be able to do pretty much whatever they decide to do with it. I trust in Robert Saleh and leading this team. So be exciting to see it. I'll go with it. I'll go in reverse order here because you didn't touch base on him. I'm going to go with Gunnar Helm actually as my dark horse. He has a clear path to a inheritance-driven volume that no one is talking about. I think he's ranked around anywhere between 25th to 30th in regards to the tight end scale, which is insane. He had 44 receptions last year for 357 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, 357 doesn't necessarily turn heads like crazy, but that's a franchise rookie tight end catch record for the Tennessee Titans. And 2 touchdowns as well for the rookie, both of them toward the end of the year as he was being utilized. So I'm actually going to go with Gunnar Helm. As you mentioned, Chiga Okonkwo, he's gone. That's 76 targets for the tight end that Cam Ward loves to do, that they're going to go toward Gunnar Helm, in my opinion. Cam Ward also likes that security blanket. He's 106.6 passer rating when he targets his tight ends and Cam Ward. So I can see him not only utilizing Gunnar Helm as that security blanket, but in a lot of other aspects in regards to the offense. And I'll touch base on it again. I'm going to go in a little bit of a reach here, but I think one of the additions that they did this offseason is going to be their MVP. You know, and it's going to take away from Carnell Tate. It's going to take away from Gunnar Helm, who I just praised. But I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson, former New York Giant. He is going to be my MVP for the Tennessee Titans. I think he comes in with an experience that no other wide receiver in this team has. I think he comes in with an absolute monster PPR profile that he was able to exploit in the New York Giants. And his best year was last year in the New York Giants under Brian Daboll, who's now a part of the Tennessee Titans. So I expect, just to what you have mentioned in regards to Chris Rodriguez not getting just brought in to get brought in, Wan'Dale Robinson was also just not brought in to be the second fiddle to Carnell Tate. I think Tate's going to have to earn that wide receiver 1 spot. And if you're judging it just based off of 4 quarters worth of football, Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't have much to worry about. But that's why we have preseason football, and that's why we're looking forward to Cardinal Tate's development. But nevertheless, I think that Cardinal Tate development is going to be allowed to be patient because Wan'Dale Robinson's going to take majority of those targets.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I know you were a Wan'Dale Robinson fan. His head coach is the offensive coordinator, or his former head coach is the offensive coordinator. That makes a lot of sense. He knows the system already. The head coach is a defensive guy, so you don't have to worry about his system. That ain't gonna happen. Cornell Tate is a rookie. Wan'Dale Robinson's been there for a few years, so obviously there's going to be a little bit of growing pains. I understand all that. However, Cornell Tate is a dude. And not the dude that everyone is expecting, but he's still the best player on this team, in my opinion. And that's why I have him as my MVP. Not much else I can say about it. We've been promoting him for the entire through the entire offseason. He was number 4 overall as a wide receiver. Yes, it was a soft class, but he's very good wide receiver. He also does things differently than Wan'Dale Robinson does, which is a good thing. I always talk about that when we talk about wide receivers, because the wide receiver position is a wide range of actual positions, in my opinion. And they do 2 completely different things. Wan'Dale Robinson can be the possession guy, and Cornell Tate can be the guy that goes up, gets the 50-50, goes up, takes the top off the defense, goes down the seam, things like that. So not that Wan'Dale can't do that, but he is a really good possession receiver. So and then, as I said, I am going to talk about both rookies that matter. And my dark horse is Nick Singleton. And basically, the easiest way I can explain this is that if he gets an opportunity, he's not letting it go because he's the best. He's the most talented back on this roster. I believe he'll pass Tyjae Spears in the first 2-3 weeks to be the number 2 running back and begin to split more and more time with Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's still a good back, don't get me wrong, but he is getting older, so they need to find someone else. And this is really a move for next year. But they also want to see what they have in him because there are some good running backs in the draft next year that they might want to go and get. So I think that he has a potential to be a dark horse, and because of that, and again, I think he's by far the most talented back on this roster. Not saying that he's the best back because he has a little bit of things to work on, but he has the most talent. So I think if he can work on those things that he needs to figure out, which is vision number 1, that he'll be able to really take this league by storm if he's able to fix that. So before we hit the AFC North positions, anything else you wanted to say on any of the teams before we move on?
No, I think this division's underrated. I don't necessarily think this division's the best in the AFC, but I do believe this is 4 teams, all younger, all hungry, all willing to kill each other for that opportunity for the division title. I think this year's going to be fun to watch this division.
See, me and you see this differently. I think it's a two-horse race, and Indy's just hoping to be the third if possible. The Titans, well, they got some work to do, but I can understand what you're saying there, though. They are all young. So to make that make more sense for me, my first player in the AFC North, my quarterback, is Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there's a question who the best quarterback in this league or in this division is, unless you may have someone different.
I went with somebody different only for the simple fact of to be determined. But I went with C.J. Stroud. I think he is the heir apparent of the second best wide receiver in class, wide receiver trio in this division. And I think he bounces back this year. So I went with C.J. Stroud. Follow with C.J. Stroud. I'm going to take his running back and David Montgomery as my running back for the AFC South. I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson at a wide receiver role. I'm going to go with Tyler Warren at my tight end. Jonathan Taylor as my flex position. And then for my dark horse, I'm going to go the overall dark horse of Brian Thomas Jr. And my overall MVP is going to be Trevor Lawrence. I would like to challenge your AFC South team.
Yeah, so I already told you my quarterback's your MVP, so we both like him a lot. Running back is your MVP for the Colts, Jonathan Taylor. Wide receiver, Nico Collins. Tight end, Dalton Schultz. You'll know that you already probably know who my MVP is now. Flex is Cornell Tate, and the MVP is Tyler Warren for the reasons that I listed a little earlier. And the dark horse before Keenan Allen got signed was Josh Downs. Now it's Nick Singleton because I'm worried about that target share dropping for Josh Downs. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Denver Broncos quarterback, Bo Nix, coming off an injury. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We are getting into the player profile here that we do pretty much every week in the offseason. Going to talk about Bo Nix, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. He's 6'2", 217 pounds, 26 years old, drafted first round, number 12 overall in 2024 for the Broncos from the Oregon Ducks. He's played 2 years, played all 17 games both years in the regular season. Over 63% completion percentage, over 3,700 pass yards, over 350 rush yards both years, 25 or more touchdowns in both years, and added four or more on the ground, 4 and 5, I think it was, respectively. He was injured in the AFC divisional round. It was an ankle injury. It sounds like he's coming back and he's good to go. What's your outlook on Bo Nix here?
Well, I'll start with the negative before the positive. I guess the only thing, if you're looking for that flashy superstar to anchor your dynasty team, I don't know if Bo Nix is that guy that's going to move the needle. But he's a stable quarterback too in Superflex leagues. I have him in one. He's proven to be a lifesaver in some situations for me. He was able to provide consistent weekly points. He has obviously the lowest starting role, so he's obviously going to be, the quarterback of the future there. He has a great coaching tree in Sean Payton, who has been notoriously thanked by Drew Brees for his development in his career. So if you have heir apparent to Drew Brees, that's something good to have. Bo Nix might not have that game-breaking upside, but he's exactly the kind of reliable asset you trade for when you want a serious championship run. That's the best way I can sum up Bo Nix.
I like that. They added Jalen Waddle to pair with Cortland Sutton, so obviously he's getting more weapons. He's played well the first 2 years in the regular season, which is what we care about in fantasy. And the only negative that I see outside of the coming back off the injury is that their defense is so good that they don't have to throw the ball a whole lot. Their offense doesn't have to be that great to win a lot of games because that defense is so good. One of those top 3 defenses that we talked about in the league. But I believe this is one of those guys that if you want to tear down from one of the probably second-tier quarterbacks and then gain something with it to make your team better, this is the guy that I'd be targeting. For instance, if I wanted to move from Hurts, Jackson, Burrow, yeah, Herbert, that area right there, this is a really good spot. Now, some of those guys are a little bit younger and going to be playing a little bit longer as well, but they are getting to their late 20s, early 30s, and that's kind of where you see the change especially in rushing. Where Bo Nix, he is a little bit older for only being in the league for 2 years, but going to be in this league for at least another 5, right? So very talented, played well in Oregon, was a fan of his in Oregon. Surprised he was a first-round pick, but also it was kind of a match made in heaven with Sean Payton. So they've been killing it, and it just with the Jalen Waddle ad, that's the piece that really gets me because he's been a top 10 fantasy target, or he's been a top 10 fantasy point getter his first 2 years, and now he gets a alpha in Jalen Waddle to pair with a Cortland Sutton who's played very well, but just getting older. The fantasy value here is quarterback 12, tier 4 between Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, Jackson Dart, Jordan Love, Fernando Mendoza. Little bit of everything in that grouping there. I also have him quarterback 12 between Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott. He's 35 overall in tier 6 between Jalen Hurts and Tyler Warren, George Pickens, Cornell Tate, Chris Olave, all in that mix as well. I have him 39 overall between Patrick Mahomes and Omarion Hampton, Breece Hall, George Pickens, and Brock Purdy in that group as well. Average 2026 pick value, if you still have your rookie draft to go, is 101 to 105. I would not trade him for the 101. I would love to get the 101, but I would not try to acquire him and use the 101 for it. But the 102 or worse, I think I probably would. I think he's going to be better than what you're going to get out of Mendoza. So I think that does make sense. What are your thoughts about the rankings and the pick value for 26?
I think you nailed it in regards to the rankings and in the pick value. I do think he is better than Mendoza. He will produce better than Mendoza, especially like you mentioned with the addition of Jalen Waddle. But I think where he's ranked in between the quarterbacks as well. I believe what you said, Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy. I think that's a great spot as well. Overall, I think you nailed it. And again, as a Bo Nix owner in a dynasty league, I'll sit back and wait and see what he brings his third year now.
Yep. And last thing we'll talk about with him is the future pick value for 2027. They have is an early to mid first. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to just say that that's way too high, or?
That's it. I think we're in agreement here. You can go ahead.
Okay. So if I was trying to acquire him, there's no chance I would give you a early first with the people who are coming out, especially if you're in the lottery for Jeremiah Smith. No chance. Mid first or worse, probably closer to the second half of your draft is where I would be looking to late. If I was selling them, I would be looking for the 106 or better. Probably any first, to be honest, because how good the 2027 class is. But he's young. He's been in the top 10 every single or both years he's been there. So it's tough to get rid of him right now, in my eyes, right? Like, he's 26 years old.
Yeah, good point. And like I said, he's only gained weapons this year, and he has a great coaching tree. So I'm on board with the ride him for this year and seeing what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Third year. Let's see. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the NFC South, the one division I was really worried about, but it ended up being a little bit better than I anticipated. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're going to talk about the last part of our show is the NFC South. First off, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, they got a new head coach in Kevin Stefanski. They re-signed the triumvirate that matters on this team. Drake London, wide receiver, 4 years, $141 million. Running back, Bijan Robinson, 3 years, $75 million. And tight end, Kyle Pitts, 3 years, $54 million. They have those three guys, which are the three that matter on this team, for 3 years. That's a good thing for Kevin Stefanski. Mm-hmm. They also add quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, formerly from the Dolphins, tight end Austin Hooper, formerly from the Patriots, wide receiver Jahan Dawson from the Eagles, wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus, formerly from the Bears, and Brian Robinson Jr. from the 49ers. They do lose Kirk Cousins, their former quarterback, to the Raiders, wide receiver Darnell Mooney to the Giants, and running back Tyler Algier to the Cardinals. They draft only one player, but he kind of matters for this team right now, it seems like. Wide receivers, Zachariah Branch out of Georgia, round 3, 79 overall. Your thoughts?
I think Atlanta this year. I mean, the roster is completely championship ready everywhere except quarterback. And that's not a downplay of Tua. That's not a downplay of Penix. I honestly don't know. I know you leaning a little bit more toward one or the other, but I honestly don't know, A, who is the better quarterback to carry this team. I have not seen enough of Penix, and I've seen Tua. But like, if Tua starts, it gives the Falcons that elite, accurate distributor who can immediately maximize target volume to London. But Penix has that track record with London last year, and he also unlocks kind of like a vertical explosive element with deep ball capacity. So pick your poison amongst the two. Both of them have positives. Both of them have negatives. whoever ends up being the positive quarterback for this team is going to be my dark horse. I didn't know exactly who to pick. I don't know exactly who to trust. But I think this team is championship ready, with the exception of the quarterback. And I think once Stefanski figures this out and once Penix is fully healthy and we get to see the true competition, one that I am more excited to see than Cleveland's, because the team in front of them is a lot better than the Cleveland Browns. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this cornerback battle breaks down. And I think whoever ends up winning this quarterback battle is the dark horse for this Atlanta Falcon team. I won't spend too much time on the MVP because it's, again, one of those situations in my eyes, like the Indianapolis Colts. Who else are you going to choose for an MVP other than Bijan Robinson? I think he is on pace to have an absolute career year this year, and his volume is going to increase. His workload's going to increase. His skill set has increased. His experience has increased. His confidence has increased. Everything has increased for this man to go completely nuclear this year. And I think he does. And he puts this team on his back. And however the quarterback situation is getting worked out with its highs and its lows, I think Bijan Robinson is going to carry this team.
Well, yeah, if you don't really know who your quarterback is and you're not sure how good the quarterback is, what do you need? You need a running back who can take over. And that's exactly who the MVP is. I don't think there's any question. I do love Pitts and I do love London, especially this year. Especially Pitts this year with the Stefanski addition. If you remember in Cleveland, he loves using the tight end and does it a lot. So I'm expecting big things out of Pitts, but there's no question. It's kind of like the Jahmyr Gibbs deal with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, St. Brown's amazing and all, but it's Gibbs. It just is. Just like Bijan Robinson, it just is. He has a lot of talented guys around him, but he's just the best there is in Atlanta. So my dark horse is Zachariah Branch, that rookie. It's hard to find a dark horse on this team. I wanted to go with Michael Penix. However, if he's not the starter, I look like an idiot. So I kind of hedged my bet here, to be honest, and took Zachariah Branch. We've heard some good things. I think you talked about it last week in camp. He sounds like he could easily take over Jahan Dotson, who I'm assuming is going to be the number 2 right now. Could easily become the number 2. There's some gadget plays that Zachariah Branch can do. So Stefanski might be able to do a little bit of crazy things with him and make him relevant in fantasy this year. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers. They re-signed Jalen Coker to a 3-year deal. They add Kenny Pickett, formerly from the Raiders, John Mechie III, formerly from the Jets, and Darren Waller on a 1-year deal for tight end. They do lose Andy Dalton to the Eagles, former quarterback, and draft wide receiver Chris Brazzell II. But you got to wait until next year to see him because he's already hurt. But he was in round 3, 83 overall. Your thoughts on the Panthers? This is a team that I think could be sneaky.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be sneaky. It really all depends on Bryce Young and what he's able to do. But I do think that they could be sneaky. They kind of are like the Titans team, but just a few more years down the road. They had their young eras, they had their rookie quarterback seasons, but now it's time for these to really start gelling to find out who exactly is legit and who's not. One of those individuals who I find to be legit is Ted McMillan. I think he's going to be this team's MVP. I think he absolutely explodes this year. I think him and Bryce Young hit it off immensely. I think last year was just a shadow of things to come. Coker is a fantastic asset, but after Coker, like we've mentioned, Darren Waller was just signed, but I can really only see him being utilized as a red zone threat. Javion Sanders, like you said, again, we're waiting for him to kind of figure things out. And Leggett, we're also trying to wait for him to figure things out. So when it comes to target share behind the wide receiver 1 and Tet with Coker, there's really not much more going on there. You're going to have some running back pass games in here and there, but for the most part, I believe Tet's on pace to have some substantial targets. One of those individuals who I do believe, though, and we're going to debate this all year, as we've debated it all offseason, I'm going to go with a dark horse and Chuba Hubbard. I am giving him dark horse capabilities because even though he's entering the season as the projected bell cow, Nobody gives him any type of consensus, and his expectations have been all but written off. I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard for 2024, not Chuba Hubbard of 2025. He had himself a slower start. The line was banged up, and then he had an early season calf injury that kind of slowed him down, and he never really fully recovered. Then Dowdle showed up, and they didn't really need Chuba Hubbard to come back as quickly as possible because Dowdle played really well. And then I believe Chuba came back early because of Dowdle's chances. Dowdle's now left. Now, it's not to say that there's no competition there. Jonathan Brooks is there. But I do believe that they eased Jonathan Brooks into that role. I don't believe he is immediately punched into that role. And I believe we have time for 2024 Chuba. People forget what Chuba Hubbard was like in 2024. He was 8th in the league in NFL rushing. He had super high efficiency. He had 250 carries for almost 1,200 yards, and he had 11 touchdowns. That's the Chuba Hubbard that is capable of showing up, and that's the Chuba Hubbard who I feel is going to show up this year. I will be on that mountain until I get pushed off it, and I'm not ready to get pushed off it.
All right, well, I'm going to try to push you right now because I think the dark horse is running back Jonathan Brooks. They drafted him in the second round after Chuba Hubbard had that. I don't think you do that if you are solidified with Chuba. Unfortunately, it's been 2 years for him with injuries. We've talked about that before. If he's healthy and on the field, he could be a game changer. We kind of know what Chuba is. Not that he's bad. He is a good back. He's just not that game-changing back that Jonathan Brooks could be. And that's where I think the difference lies. And that's why I continually say that I don't think Hubbard's going to last the season, because I just think Jonathan Brooks has it if he can finally stay on the field. As far as the MVP, though, this is like you were talking about with Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson. Who else are you going to pick? It has right. Tet is so talented. He's already, I think, in my top 10 wide receivers in Dynasty right now. If not top 10, he's right outside. And the wide receiver is insane. So for a second-year player to already be there is pretty impressive. And it's not just mine. It's a lot of different rankings as well. Absolutely love this player. As if you listen to our podcast during last year's draft process, you definitely know that already. This is Bryce Young's last chance, at least as a Carolina Panther. Because if they don't succeed this year and he doesn't do well enough for them not to draft a quarterback next year, he's going to get replaced pretty quickly, in my opinion. So I think him and Ted are going to have a heck of a year. Like you said, I like Jalen Coker. He's going to be fine. He's not going to take any possession away from Ted McMillan being the focal point, the alpha, the man on this team. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints. They re-signed Chris Olave on a 4-year deal, $31 million per year. My math is escaping me, but that's over $100 million, I believe, on a deal there. They added running back Travis Etienne Jr., formerly from the Jaguars, and tight end Noah Fant from the Bengals. They did lose Taysom Hill. He just decided to leave the team. It was time for him to be done. Looking elsewhere, I don't think he found a team yet, from what I understand. And obviously Foster Moreau, who we talked about earlier, went from the Saints to the Texans. They drafted a few players that we're going to hear about this year. One that we already are upset with. He's not playing for the first month and a half or so in the regular season. Wide receiver Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State, round 1, 8th overall. They also drafted tight end Oscar Delp out of Georgia, round 3, 73 overall. Wide receiver Bryce Lance, North Dakota State, round 4, 136 overall. Wide receiver Barian Brown out of LSU in round 6, 190th overall. Before I let you go, Bryce Lance is named to foul away, especially if Jordan Tyson's has that injury, and then we already heard Olave has an injury. Bryce Lance is that guy that I've been fouling away, trying to grab it anywhere I can because of those injury-prone receivers in front of him.
No, full agreement. Someone's going to have to fill in for that role. They drafted Jordan Tyson with the intention of him taking wide receiver 2 behind Chris Olave, and now he's out till, like I said, probably Halloween. So someone's going to have to fill in that role. Someone's going to acquire those targets. But why worry about the wide receiver when you have such an elite running back to fill in. So much so that I believe Travis Etienne's Jr. is going to be the Saints MVP. He steps into a high volume, premier, dual threat role perfectly tailored by Kellen Moore. He has elite ability to create chunk plays, both on the ground and out of the backfield. And Tyler Shuck is a fantastic weapon out of the backfield for him to be able to catch passes from and be a utilized weapon. I think Etienne's going to be the engine of that entire offense. I am not concerned. I'm about as concerned of Alvin Kamara as I am Keenan Allen. I think the age catches up to both of those players this year, and I think Travis Etienne runs away with it. No pun intended. But for the sake of my dark horse, I'm a little hesitant when it comes to the dark horses being a quarterback, but in this case, a second-year quarterback coming in with now your wide receiver 2 already hurt and your entire wide receiving room all basically rookies with the exception of Chris Olave. I think your dark horse is going to be Tyler Shuck. Optimism's high, but the national outlets ranked the Saints having the 7th worst quarterback, and I kind of disagree with that. I think he's a dangerous breakout candidate in Tyler Shuck, and I think that's why I ranked him a dark horse rather than an MVP. He has his skill positions upgraded with the wide receivers in the draft and Travis Etienne. He has Kellen Moore, and the Kellen Moore effect is real. He's entering his second year now as Kellen Moore's quarterback, and it's a very quarterback-friendly offensive system. And one thing that I remember here, because I do look into it, I do think it's a factor. The Saints draw one of the NFL's easiest projected pass schedules for 2026. So when you go by strength of schedule or anything, Tyler Shuck is one of the easiest ones to pass through. So let's see exactly what he can do with it. So much so, I'm going to make my dark horse.
I like it. My dark horse is a dark horse. I don't even know if he gets on the field too much this year, but I think he can supplant the starting tight end in Oscar Delt. I think he has a chance to supplant Juwan Johnson as the number 1 tight end, and I believe that he has an opportunity to do so this year. They're already young, and Juwan Johnson isn't getting any younger. So I, like I said, it's a dark horse. We're a little bit worried about that one, to be honest with you, but Oscar Delt being my dark horse there. My MVP, I liked your Travis Etienne decision. However, there is still a wide receiver out there that is really, really good, especially when he's on the field. And as long as he stays healthy like he did last year, he's a top 10 to 12 wide receiver in the NFL, proven last year, in Chris Olave. And with the Jordan Tyson injury already happening, and it's a hamstring of all things, I hate hamstring injuries. They terrify me, especially for the rest of the year, because you never know when that thing's going to pop back up. But with Chris Olave, as long as he stays healthy, he's definitely going to be the alpha on this team. And I think he's the best player on this team overall, as much as I do like Travis Etienne. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They re-signed tight end Cade Otton for 3 years, add Kenneth Gainwell from the Steelers, lose Mike Evans to the 49ers, and Rachaad White to the Commanders. Rachaad White, obviously, running back, and Mike Evans, wide receiver, respectively. They do draft wide receiver Ted Hurst out of Georgia State, round 3, 84 overall. Tight end Bauer Sharp out of LSU, round 6, 185th overall. Thoughts on the Buccaneers' outlook this offseason?
I think the Buccaneers are going to be a noisemaker this year, so much so that I'm going to have them winning the division. Look, I am a huge advocate of individuals coming into a contract year with something to prove. Baker Mayfield is exactly that. Baker Mayfield has chip on his shoulder basically his whole career, and rightfully so. He's never been given the appropriate credit as a decent starting quarterback that he is. He's never been given that massive contract. He's never been sought after. He's had to fight for all of his opportunities, from being drafted into Cleveland to his one game with the Los Angeles Rams that still I remember to this day was absolutely crazy with the comeback win. And now he came into Tampa Bay with a massive following with Tom Brady. So I think Baker Mayfield has been disrespected his whole career, and I think this year, with the amount of weapons that he has on this team, from Chris Godwin, who I think could be wide receiver one this year, with Mike Evans leaving, to Emeka Ibuka, to Cade Otton, Jalen McMillan. So they have a lot of weapons affiliated with this offense that Baker Mayfield can utilize. So I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield as my MVP, coming in on a contract year and making the Buccaneers pay for it and then not being able to settle it before the year starts. And one of Baker Mayfield's favorite players so far out of the acquisitions is going to be my dark horse, and that is going to be Kenny Gainwell, the RB2 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am not sold on Bucky Irving being 100% going into the season, so I believe Kenneth Gainwell gets himself a little bit of carries. First, secondly, he was signed a 2-year, $14 million contract with $10 million guaranteed. So he has $10 million guaranteed, and he's getting $7 million a year. They're going to utilize Kenny Gainwell rather significantly. If you go by his numbers last year, he had 114 carries for 537 yards rushing for the Steelers. And he had 73 receptions for 486 yards receiving. That 8 total touchdowns. He was voted the Steelers MVP. So he's coming off a fantastic year. Zach Robinson as well, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, loves to run the pony backfield scheme. What that is usually a 2 running back heavy formation. So I do expect Gainwell to be on the field a lot, not necessarily a bench player. And just to touch base on what I was mentioning earlier with Baker, just the other day, Baker has come out and he is, quote, he's completely overwhelmed by the amount of talent, end quote, Gainwell possesses. Praising his incredibly smooth route running, his elite vision on the field, and everything in between. So if we can get Baker and Gainwell working on the same page here, the MVP and dark horse of yours truly, we're both going to have a successful season.
No, I like it. I do think that the best player on this team, though, this year is going to be the starting running back. I do like Gainwell. Obviously, being a Steeler last year, he played really well. But Bucky Irving, I think he is going to come back and be healthy. I think he's going to be the focal point of this team because they're worried about Baker. Obviously, they're worried about Baker. They haven't given him a contract extension. So not sure what's going on there. But there's so many weapons on that offense, wide receiver wise, that I wasn't sure if I could pick any one of them because I think they're all going to eat into each other, especially with another person that you didn't name, who I will talk about in just a minute. But I do believe Bucky Irving can play out of the backfield just like Kenneth Gainwell can, and also he's going to be the one between the tackles as well. So I really, really think Bucky Irving is being underappreciated this year, probably because of the injury, as you said. I didn't think about that part of it, but just not being drafted or being talked about as much as he was 2 years ago and going into last year, especially. But we're going to go to that dark horse that I think could be the alpha, not the alpha, but the X on this team, and that's Ted Hurst. Someone on this team needs to supplant Mike Evans. They don't have that guy on that team. That's why they drafted Ted Hurst. Jalen McMillan, good player, probably going to be tried as the X first. Obviously, Ibuka is going to be the go-to guy, the go up and get it guy. And Godwin's going to be the slot possession receiver, but they do need that Mike Evans type, big bodied receiver, can go up, get it, especially in the red zone. And that's what Ted Hurst, I think, can be. I think they try McMillan, but it's not really his forte to be that kind of player. He's played well when he's been on the field, but not the same kind of player as Evans. More similar to an Ibuka, I think, as well. So I think Ted Hurst could slide right in there and really have a good year. This is one of the guys that I think if he didn't go to Georgia State and he went somewhere, one of the higher tiered teams in college, I think he would have been an even higher pick. He has all the skill in the world, and I'm excited to see what he does with the Bucs. With that, we're going to go into who's the best positionally in this division, and if you want to start us off.
Sure, I'm going to go with my quarterback to be Baker Mayfield for all the praises that I just gave him mere minutes ago. My running back is going to be Travis Etienne again for the mere praises I gave him. I think he's going to be a bell cow back. I'm not scared of Alvin Kamara. My wide receiver is going to be Ted McMillan, my MVP for the Panthers. My tight end is going to be Kyle Pitts, somebody who we talked about the Falcons, but we didn't talk too much about Kyle Pitts. But Kyle Pitts is going to be, I think he's going to have one hell of a year again this year. My flex position, I went with a wide receiver and Ibuka. My dark horse, I rode that train, and I'm going to continue to ride it. I'm going to go with Kenny Gainwell as my dark horse. But the MVP of this division is a no-brainer once again, like we've mentioned in the past. It's going to be Bijan Robinson. I think he goes nuclear this year, and he's going to make this prediction seem very easy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm actually going to start with the MVP because it's so obvious it's Bijan Robinson in this division. Tyler Shuck is actually going to be my quarterback this year. This is a rough quarterback division, in my opinion. Running back, I'm pivoting a little bit because I'm like 50-50 on Etienne or Bucky, and I don't have a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and I try to get all the teams in. So we're going with Bucky Irving this time. I pivoted just a little bit. They were like 50-50 for me there. Wide receiver, Drake London. Tight end, Kyle Pitts. So we apparently like the Atlanta Falcons is what we're showing there. The flex, Tedero and McMillan, absolutely. And then the dark horse, I'm hedging my bets because I want it to be Michael Penix, and I think it will be Michael Penix if he gets an opportunity and if he's healthy. But he's not healthy right now. So obviously Tua is going to get the start, we believe, in the at the beginning and see what happens. If he plays well, that's great. But the actual dark horse is going to be Jonathan Brooks. I think he's going to have an absolutely great year once he takes the ball and runs with it. Pardon the pun that everyone uses. But I believe that's going to happen. So I've been waiting to see this guy consistently on the field for 2 years now. I was excited when he got drafted. Watched him at Texas. I think he's a great back. Excited to see what happens and explosive. And with him and Ted on the Carolina Panthers, they have a little bit more of a pop offensively, I believe. So really excited to see what Jonathan Brooks does as my dark horse. Next week, we're going to wrap up our offseason outlook with the AFC and NFC West. That's the Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Las Vegas Raiders, and Los Angeles Chargers, as well as the Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, and the world champion, Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks. But for Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty with Mountaintops. Check us out on YouTube, Apple, or Podbean. Also, our socials at dynastymttops on X and Blue Sky, or you can email us dynastymttops@gmail.com for any feedback, comments, topics you want to hear throughout the season, in the off season, whatever. Also, you can comment on most of the platforms as well, especially YouTube. So look forward to hearing from you guys. And man, we're like 3 weeks away. Let's go.
Rock and roll, baby. We're so close.
Should be interesting to see. He's sort of polarizing, but we'll see. We'll see what we think there. I'm probably gonna cut that ending out, but that's okay.
That works. It's better than saying Kyron Williams.
Yeah, better than nothing Kyron Williams, right?